The assets we have are awesome here. I've traveled in Belize and in South America and in other parts of the country, all around the world, looking at the assets that different places that draw tourists have, and we have everything that they have, the culture, the heritage, and the nature.
What we're trying to do is use the facilities we've got. Otherwise, they just go to waste.
Nature tourism is a solid industry around the world, but it's especially significant in Texas. Not only is our state well known for great hunting and fishing, but is now a major destination for bird watchers. Over $1 billion are spent in 1 year on wildlife watching in Texas, and over $4 billion are spent on hunting and fishing. Nature tourism is big business, and more people are responding to the call of the wild. In the next 20 minutes, landowners involved in nature tourism show you how they got started and share their experiences.
Years ago, we started a hunting program on the ranch, and that was probably the first step of ranch diversification and nature tourism. Nobody just called it that for 30 years in Texas, and now we kind of are.
We feel like we can generate $12 an acre out of our hunting. We can generate $3 an acre out of the grazing. So that's only half the job done. So what are we going to do to generate that other $15 an acre? The thing that comes to mind would be ecotourism or nature tourism, ranch tourism.
We got married and bought this place, and quail season started all in the same 2-week period. So we definitely had Dane Bramage when we started out. I'd had a hunting business and the catering business before we bought this place. My wife and I knew that we needed a place to keep our hunters, and it's worked out quite well for us.
We knew we had to do something, and we began visiting with other ranchers that already were doing something. And the one I want to mention is my friend Kathy Henry at the King Ranch. And they've had a tourism program going for several years.
This is a working cattle ranch, although we are running fewer cattle than I have before and shifting more and more over to bed and breakfast, or if you want to call it hunting lodge or guest ranch or whatever you want to call it. I'm still not sure what it is because we do so many different things here. Basically, I guess everything is pretty nature-oriented, and that's kind of the whole basis on which it has evolved.
Rather than fragmented the land itself, we have fragmented the values of that land. We took our mineral interest and divided them into limited partnership interests. We took our land surface itself and divided into limited partnership interests. And then to manage it, we formed our own cattle company or management company. We call that El Lebanito Ranch Company, and we lease the acreage from C.W. Helen Ranches. And so in the future, we can divide up those partnership interests instead of the acres.
I used to do a little photography and had fun of it. I've photographed a bobcat out here, and I sat down on the edge of a sendero and had 14 javelina all around me while I was taking shots, and enjoyed it, and found I used to be a hunter. It's the same feeling. It's the same hunt, only with a camera.
And more, as we've gotten more into photography and we've met more people that are interested in photography and kind of how things lead to another, we were challenged to put in some photo blinds. And so now we've got photo blinds probably for about 10 people total that we can accommodate.
It started off with just a simple B&B, well, not simple here, but nothing simple here, but a B&B operation when Ray was still active duty military. Then we migrated when he retired into a hunting business, full-service hunting business on our property and some other properties that we lease. Then nature tourism kind of got important to us for a number of reasons. One, we're in a birdie area, and there were birding groups already coming to us before the major event, which was a pair of ferruginous pygmy owls moving into our backyard. Of course, that changed everything. So we continue to do lots and lots of nature tourism business. We've tried other little side businesses. We did dinners and parties for a while. We don't do that anymore. We've kind of narrowed down to the things we enjoy the most as well as the things that make us the most money. And that's what it is, a whole balancing act. And we also have a cattle operation on the ranch, which has been since the beginning as well. So the combination of all of those businesses not only gives us the money to live here, you know, an income, it also provides our lifestyle and our enjoyment in life.
At the point where now it's looking at it being a very viable business and making some money for us, and but it's taken time, and that's any business does.
Nothing about it is as I would have originally assumed it would have been. And it has been like, seriously, like running a bumper car into one corner and into another one, but it's interesting how it's evolved.
Even though a bed and breakfast and a ranch and this business is fun, it is a lot of work, and it is a business. And it's not a job. At 5 o'clock, you don't lock the door and go home. You have to be a person who really likes people, because you're going to have lots of people around you all the time, and you really do not have any privacy.
And saying the same thing over and over again.
It's a whole lifestyle thing. It's not really a huge money-making thing, but it's a lifestyle that you live, and it's a wonderful lifestyle. Our customers, we enjoy them so much.
Most of the people that come out are just neat people, and most of them have a business or a home, and they treat this as our business and our home.
Most of our business corporate clients probably are hunters. We have a university close by. They use us a lot for just a different place to get out and have a retreat, and our food attracts a lot of people because we have excellent food.
There's all kinds of burgers, and there are a few who have a whole agenda for the day. They're going to be here for 10 minutes, and they're going to be at Laguna Atascosa for an hour, and then they're going to go to Sable Palm for another hour, and you know, they have their schedule they have to keep to. And there are a few like that, not very many. Most people who come here spend about a half a day here, anywhere from 3 hours to 5 hours here.
They're outdoor people, so you don't really have to tell them to close the gate. They generally will know to do that. And whatever it is that made them want to pick up that camera and sit in the blind, they just have been really nice people to work with.
Birders, now I know, are very respectful of property and don't trash, don't go where you tell them not to.
Some of my most memorable times is when we get hunters and bird watchers to both sit down at the breakfast table or the dinner table, and you think, oh, this is going to be an argument. And about 2 minutes into the hello, how are you, they both realize, because used to the bird watchers thought, oh, all hunters are evil, and all hunters thought, oh, them bird watchers are crazy, they're out trying to take our guns away. And about 5 seconds into the conversation, they're the biggest buds and realize that they're both trying to protect the same resource.
There was a lady, Barbara Shepard, who had already been running a nature tourism business almost all her life in Port Aransas, so she knew a little bit about, you know, this type of business. She knew a lot about it, actually, and she had made a lot of contacts, and we were very fortunate that she was a good friend of ours. And she introduced us, you know, to a lot of our partners now, the King Ranch, the Chamber of Commerce, the CBBs, the CBB in Corpus, you know, and the state agencies. She introduced us to people like Carson Watts and Paul Surf, and you know, those kind of agencies, which kind of clued us in, and you know, and she kind of took us by the hand and showed me, you know, what I need to be doing. I had never done a business myself before. I'd always worked for someone else, and so you know, occupancy rate, I didn't know what that was. I didn't even think to check occupancy rates in the area. Pretty much our business plan is right on. You know, we don't use it day to day and every day, but it was just kind of the start of what we were going to do and what direction we were going to go in.
We have the Rio Bravo Resource Conservation Development Council, which is a volunteer group of ranchers seeking out projects that would benefit our area. And as chairman of that, I chose tourism development because I'm interested in it personally, and I know other ranchers like myself are interested. And so we actually formed a little group and started having some meetings, and we called it South Texas Ecotourism Marketing Alliance.
The more nature-oriented places there are, the more people are going to come.
If you were going to buy antiques, where would you go? You'd probably go up to Fredericksburg and New Braunfels and those areas over there, and there's the street after street and storefront after storefront of antique dealers. That's where you'd go. They're not competing with each other, they're going together.
If we had 100 ranches in the Rio Grande Valley and our 10 or 12 counties down here, we would become an attraction. We would become the destination for wildlife photographers. So instead of bringing a couple of hundred, we might bring 10 or 15,000. Suddenly, we've created the real economics for the landowners and the whole area, because most of them, there's no motels out here. So they're going to stay in town. They spend $100 with us, they spend $100 in town. We've suddenly created economics for the whole community.
Initially, getting insurance was kind of difficult. I'm a member of the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association, and they had gone, particularly from the workman's compensation end of things, and had developed a real good insurance program for ranchers. And one of the areas that did cover was the nature tourism and the bed and breakfast or guest ranch area. So therefore, I could get all of my insurance through them, and that included my farm and ranch policy, an umbrella, home, as well as bed and breakfast and liability, including horses, through this one agency that was oriented towards agriculture.
The liability laws have changed tremendously in Texas. You know, if they try to sue you, they can't sue you like they used to, because a lot of that stuff is, you know, trespasser beware, more or less. And they've got limits on liability and that type of stuff, and which is good.
Our liability insurance is through an association, the Texas Wildlife Association. It's a very strong association, has of course, no liability insurance is affordable, but it's reasonable. And it's through the association. They have a great track record. They have some very basic requirements. For hunters, they have a release form that they ask that the hunters review and sign. Whether or not that's any good or not in court is one thing. One of the things that we do with all of our guests, not just the hunters, but with the non-hunting guests as well, is we have just a real basic orientation that we run them through, which includes warnings of rattlesnakes and warnings of wildlife and warnings of livestock and, you know, concerns about things like that.
When you're in a business like this, you also have employees, and then you have to assume certain liabilities on that end too.
There's lots of directions you can go in this business. You know, horseback riding is one of them. Stewed ranches, you know, this type of thing.
Our niche, much like any other business, has a niche, and we offer a certain experience. And there are some people that are looking for a different experience. So when you discuss it with them on the phone, right off the bat, you can say, okay, you know, here's what we offer, here's the limits we have and what we can do, and if we can meet your needs and you can meet our needs, mutually agreeable, then we have can make a contact.
You know, better yet, I'll enjoy the green grass, and you both can take turns kissing my.
Say you pick the low apples off the tree. Well, we have winter Texans, and they're great people, and they come down. Many of them are agricultural related, and they want to see how we do things here. And they're interested in the heritage and the history of the area as we are. And the winter Texan market is just wonderful for us. So immediately after the end of deer season in mid-January, we begin hosting day tours, motor coach day tours of winter Texans. To our ranch. Anything to please, anything to please.
Although bird watchers and photographers and nature tourists may be the largest number of guests we have, the hunters pay the most. And so about 85% of our income still is generated by hunters. The least important to our overall annual income is the cattle business because the cattle prices vary from year to year. So we really use cattle as a tool to manipulate habitat to enhance our wildlife and our hunting opportunities. And then any income we derive from those is secondary.
Probably my best marketing is through the internet. A real good website, I think there's just not anything you can do that's any better than that.
I think using websites, in fact, you can buy ads, for instance, on the North American Nature Photography Association's website. I think participating on the Chamber of Commerce type websites. I think you said Texas A&M Extension Service has a website. I see those as ways.
Newspapers have brought in nothing. I spent $600 to put 2 ads in a newspaper, in the San Antonio paper, each on a Sunday. And the total cost was $600 for the 2 of them, and I did not get one single phone call. That's another one of those things that's just like bumping into a maze.
Our best marketing tool right now is email. Everybody that comes down here, we beg, borrow, and steal to try to get their email address. Once a week we send out, and I tell people I'm going to put you on my spam list. We send them junk mail from B-Bar-B. Just like you're talking to your friends, and we're sending out to a little over 1,200 people a week right now, and we hope to build it to even more than that. And if we stay in touch with our customers that have had a good trip here, they're going to tell their friends, and they're going to send more people. It just works that way.
Which solves several problems. First is you don't have to spend a lot of money on advertising because you do not have to go out and look for new customers when you keep your old customers. The other thing it gives you a lot of is good word-of-mouth recognition. We like to offer opportunities for them to remember their experience, and so we have mementos, like all our hunting customers, we give them a free cap.
That's very important to have mementos and something inexpensive to buy. We have bandanas and the slides that you see that cowboys wear in this country, and we're going to expand into some jellies and sauces and salsas and things like that.
You don't make a lot of profit maybe on the shirt or the individual item, but you do get your name spread around and everybody sees it, and then the next person who comes wants one. And not only does it generate a little income, but it also creates more advertising.
We did a search of what's offered in the area, what other businesses maybe are like this or not like this. You know, we did a business plan to begin with and see who our competition is, what they're charging. And then we've been in this area most of our life, so we kind of know, you know, what it costs to stay somewhere and what we're providing. So we kind of just, you know, and then you just hope for the best. I mean, there's no scientific way to approach it. You just kind of have to hope for the best with it.
I have had a few people balk a bit at the price we charge. We charge $35 per person for a morning of birding or an afternoon of birding. And most people are happy to pay it. Some people say, well, that's a little out of my price range. Not very many say that.
I do not like to nickel dime people. I don't think anybody wants to leave here and be charged for a half a bag of ice, 12 clay pigeons, the use of a kayak, and a half a day on a canoe. I just don't think that they want to. Therefore, I try to charge maybe a little bit more and have everything self-inclusive.
Probably this will all work out like any other market. There'll be the $25 ones and the $200 ones, and just depending on the experience that people can have.
The biggest thing I want to share with someone that's doing this is to do a little bit of homework, know a little bit about what you're getting into.
It's a great use of your assets, wonderful use of your assets, because there's no reason to let them just sit there and only use 1/100th of something.
And 10 years later, we're still here and adore it. It's a little piece of heaven. You know, it really, truly is.
This photographer came from the Valley Land Fund, and he came every weekend for several weeks and took pictures of birds and other wildlife, and it was just it was amazing. The pictures were so fabulous that I thought they'd been taken in some forest somewhere in the east, and you know, they were gorgeous pictures, and I couldn't believe they were pictures of birds taken on this ranch. They were fabulous. They're beautiful pictures. I'm out there looking for those birds now. I want to see one of those.